How was your day today, Rod? Busy?
Very busy as usual, but very enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's been a great day. So
Oh,
yeah,
good.
beautiful weather. I'm just outside of Ottawa, the capital of Canada at the moment, and
Nice.
yeah, it's been good. There's a tulip festival happening in Ottawa,
Oh, nice.
so that's happening this week. So I'm going to go and check that out. I think we have about 1 million tulip bulbs
Wow.
in
That's a
Ottawa at the
lot.
moment. Yeah, so there's a lot. That's a
Yep.
lot. So
Yeah, I was at the flower
interesting.
shop yesterday for Mother's Day. Oh, looks like we lost Rod there. Just give him a minute. I'm sure he'll be back in. So if for those of you that are here, if you could type in the chat which city or country you're in, and then we can see where people are tuning in from. All right, so we got Ottawa, Montreal, Calgary, Toronto. So people are in Canada mostly. Vancouver. Nice, nice, nice. We got Niagara Falls. Oh, we got Philippines. Nice. So most of you appear to be in Canada right now. We got Northwest Territories, London, Ontario, probably, Kitchener, New Brunswick. Nice. Just find out what happened to Rod. It's good. So we got Toronto, Vancouver. Oh, there's Rod. Hey, Rod, we lost you there for a second.
Yeah, I know. I saw that there was some sort of. I see a closed captioning device. I see. Okay.
Oh, something.
I think I had intended to hit OK, and instead I decided to leave the meeting. Oh, the joys of technology.
Yeah.
So, how are we doing? How many people have we got in so far? Do you know?
We got 70, so people are just telling us where they're tuning in from. So most people are in Canada.
Fantastic. I see that.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan. We got UK.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. I've helped a lot of people from the UK actually lately.
Oh, really?
A lot of people wanting to come up. Well, I mean the exchange rate is good in their
Yes.
favor when they have
Yes.
Canadian exchange to Canadian dollars,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah. I don't know. Mum was a Brit. I don't know. Maybe they just like the closeness in culture or something. You
Yeah.
know, I've been to England. I have citizenship actually,
Oh, really? I want to go
but
sometime.
I don't have the passport. So
Yeah. Okay.
just go on my
Yeah, we
Canadian
share the
passport.
the monarchy, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Our countries get along very well.
Yeah.
So not too difficult for people to get here from there.
So, Rod, $1 million question. Were you gonna light
Yeah.
that thingamajig?
This thing here behind me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me just X this out here. Okay, so why don't I just adjust things here a little bit? And this is so for those of you who are unaware, this is an airtight stove, and the airtight stove or airtight fireplace was used in homes and buildings and schoolhouses and cottages and so on as their primary source of heat. Some people still do. A lot of people use it now for ambiance, for the mood. So this is not for primary heat. This is for secondary heat. But this would be a device, and everybody has one that's a little bit different with the things to start the fire, and they're kindling. Kindling is the word for the little sticks. And then we have the logs here, and I've got a couple of logs over here as well that I'll put on. So excuse me 1 second, I'll light this thing.
Nice. Just try not to set the house on fire, eh? Yeah, I've never seen one of those before. So he's lighting it now. Oh wow, that'll be good for winter time to keep warm. Oh, you saw one of those stoves in Alliston, eh? Nils? Yeah, I've never seen one before, but it looks like a good thing to have at home, especially during the winter. As long as you don't burn the house down, you know?
All right, so we'll get that going there for a little bit.
That was a good
We'll
source of
throw a couple of,
entertainment
yeah.
there.
I'm sure it was. Was it just my back?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh, it was cool though.
couldn't.
I've never seen one of those before, actually.
I will have to in future have a camera person who can record this for me and get it
Yeah,
at a good angle. But yeah, so I'm just going to let that kick in for a couple of minutes, and then I'll throw a log on there, and then I'll close the door, and it will become almost virtually airtight, and just enough air to keep the fire going. And the cast iron will get super, super hot, and I've got a window open here, so I don't get too hot. And then, of course, people would cook on it or put a kettle on it and boil water for humidity and increase the humidity in the air. So
yeah. Make sure
yeah,
you got a window open. That way you don't have to take your t-shirt off.
nobody wants to see me with my t-shirt off, so that's no problem. All right. Well, shall we go ahead and get started?
Sure, we can
Do
get
you do you
started.
have do you have any housekeeping items to discuss?
Um, I think we could probably get into yours, and then I'll just cap it off with some updates at the end if that works.
That sounds fine.
Okay.
All right. So let's doing a little review here to make sure that I had everything that I wanted. So we'll start right here. I'll put you down in the corner here. And as always, you can check in for questions and interrupt me at any time. So thank you everybody for coming and spending a little bit of time with us to increase your understanding of the CELPIP test and also some of the new developments that have happened in Canadian immigration. It is the federal government that we're dealing with, and the federal government likes to change things whenever they want, so that we don't always have a whole lot of warning. They just come out with a new program and they introduce it, and people get excited, or they close a program and people get upset, and it's part of the game of immigration. But we'll certainly talk about those new things today. So I am regulated. There are a lot of people who call themselves immigration consultants, and they're not. It's like an engineer calling themselves an engineer, or a doctor calling themselves a doctor when they're not a doctor. So one must be licensed in Canada in order to provide immigration advice for Canada, because if immigration advice is given and it's wrong, it can have devastating effects to people's lives. So we don't want to send anybody back to a country where they might get hurt, and we certainly don't want to tear families apart. So the goal is to make sure that all of the legalities have been met based on new law, regulation, ministerial instruction, so instructions from the Minister of Immigration. Sometimes there are public policies. So they'll look at a situation and say, we really should temporarily modify this for a while. So there'll be a public policy to allow something to happen that wouldn't normally be allowed to happen. And we want to make sure that people are they're not their money isn't being stolen. We hear a lot where people will say, "Oh yes, your work permit is coming. I just need a deposit," and then they take the deposit and they run away, and you never see the person again. So it's illegal to sell a job in Canada. So don't go buying a job or buying an LMIA, which is the government approval to hire a foreign national. So be super careful. I'm a top level CELPIP prep trainer. I've gone through all the levels of CELPIP training specifically to provide program assistance. Mom was also an English teacher, as I said, from England, so I was raised with this. And I started teaching medical care actually about, wow, well, way too long ago, a few decades ago. And in 2015, switched over to teaching English. And it's been fantastic. And of course, since the pandemic, I've been teaching online. And most students prefer the online experience. They're very different in class and online, but they're both good in their own way. I currently teach at Sheridan College in Ontario, and I teach business communications primarily, although for the summer they have me doing some reading and writing and vocabulary, so all good skills to have. Now let's see what happens here. All right. So just a bit of my background. I went to McMaster University for psychology, so I use some psychological techniques when I'm preparing people for CELPIP. There's the CELPIP instructor training. My CELTA, C-E-L-T-A, is the Cambridge English Teacher's Certificate for Adults. I'm currently at Sheridan College here, and I'm a member of the College of Immigration and Citizenship Consultants, as is required by law to provide assistance. Right off the bat, I want to make sure that people are aware of misrepresentation. Misrepresentation means that you have not represented yourself truthfully. And if you buy a CELPIP exam result online, and I see them for sale, and you try to submit that fake CELPIP exam result to immigration, they will just go onto the computer, log into CELPIP, determine whether or not it is a genuine certificate or not. And of course, it won't be. The numbers won't match up properly. And they will say you are guilty of misrepresentation. You have withheld material facts, and you are now banned from Canada for 5 years. So be very cautious about lying to immigration. You can see at the bottom it says, careful review is recommended, previous A40 refusal, previous misrepresentation. So this follows you for life. So be very cautious about lying. Be as truthful as possible. And if you're not sure about a situation, explain it to them and say, I'm not sure how you want me to say this, but let me just tell you the story, and then they can figure it out. But you don't want to withhold information and think that it's better for your situation. Everybody tries to think, what should I say and what shouldn't I say? What you should say is the truth. That's what you should say, because anything else is just going to come back and bite you. I'm going to put a log on the fire. I'll be right back. I'll try not to just show you my back this time.
No, it was quite entertaining, Rod.
I'm going to open up the little device at the bottom here. It's going to let more air in.
Good call.
Greater amount of air will get this
Yeah.
started up a little faster.
All fired up and ready to go.
Little easier to see that time. Okay, yeah, should be good. I'll have to go back there and adjust again in a sec, but that's okay. Okay, so let me get myself comfortable now that we're here for a little while. Oh wow. Okay, here we go. CRS is your comprehensive ranking score. The Canadian government ranks everybody. It's based on your age, your education, your language level, sometimes your spouse, whether or not you have experience in Canada, what experience you have overseas, whether or not you have other adaptability factors, reasons that you could be adaptable to Canada. Right now, the CRS scores for being accepted are quite high. They are higher than normal. And there are a number of reasons for this. I'm going to get into that shortly. Ultimately, what's happening is we are now seeing category-based draws, as I have here at the bottom. So the federal government takes care of express entry and federal skilled workers in terms of CRS. Express entry is the Canadian experience class, if you have 1 year of Canadian experience, or federal skilled trades, if you're a trades person. That means plumbing, electrical, welding, carpentry, concrete pouring, all of the construction trades. Provinces also use a ranking system to determine who they will invite to apply to permanent residency in the province. I'll talk a bit more about provincial programs a little later. The scores change based on your situation. So if you have a express entry profile and you take a CELPIP test and you get a good score, better than your last one, then you would go and update your express entry profile so that you are credited with additional points. The category-based draws have really shaken people up. There used to be a lot of general draws for Canadian experience class, federal skilled worker, federal skilled trade, and we were letting so many people in after COVID. The doors opened, the government realized that we have an aging population and we need to bring in some more people. Then they realized we have too many people and we haven't chosen appropriately the things that we really, really need. So now they've created these categories. One of the categories is trades and construction. We need houses in Canada like crazy. So if you are in the trades or construction, you have a category specifically for you where the cutoff score will be much lower than it is for everybody else. There's a category for STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM. All of the STEM fields right now are a priority for express entry. The trades are a priority for provinces, not for express entry. Very few of the express entry draws this coming year will be for trades. Majority of them will be for people in the STEM categories or for people who can also speak French, because the Canadian government wants to spread French across the country, not just in Quebec or New Brunswick. Another one of the categories is transportation. This could be a truck driver, somebody who installs parts on an airplane, somebody who works as crew on a train. What else would be in transportation? I think those are the main ones that I'm thinking of. I didn't see anything for shipping specifically. It was mostly land-based. So trucking, rail, and on land, flying, not being a pilot, but flying. We also need pilots. If you're a pilot, we definitely need pilots. Air Canada specifically is looking for pilots right now.
There's a question here. Do you think that we'll see a new draw for STEM soon? A new draw?
Yes. Okay. So the reason I hesitate, and I warn everybody of this, don't try to predict what the federal government will do. They are so unpredictable. They will do what they want, when they want, how they want, and we just don't know. But does it make sense because it's their number one priority? Yes. The government is, the word is revamping. The verb to revamp means to reorganize or to replan. And they are revamping the immigration system now because they realize that we've grown a little bit faster than we should have. And as a result, some of the services and housing are in short supply. So doctors are in short supply. Housing is in short supply. Roads, we don't have enough roads in some of the areas. We don't have enough public transportation in some of the areas. So we're starting to see a bit of a strain on the services that are provided, and the government just wants to be a little bit more specific, with regard to who they invite. But yes, to give a much shorter, quicker answer, yes, I suspect that it will be coming up quite soon. But what does that mean, right? I mean, I wish I could give you a month, but I can't. So we were saying there's STEM, there's trades, there's healthcare,
Transportation. Yep.
transportation, thank you, and healthcare. We need doctors, nurses, radiologists, respiratory therapists, kinesiologists, occupational therapists, physiotherapists, dental hygienists, dental technicians. If you're in a healthcare profession, we need nurses aides, we need personal support workers. If you're not in the healthcare field and you would like to be, come to school in Canada and get into a program like PSW, personal support work, where you're helping elderly people at home. Or maybe you prefer to be in an office setting where you're in a dental office doing dental hygiene or dental assisting. We need all sorts of medical. It doesn't just mean doctors, it's everybody in the medical field. So if that's something that interests you, then I would say it would be most appropriate to get your schooling done here. And if you already have a certificate or a registration for that profession in your country, then the provinces here, which take care of healthcare, will have a pathway for you. They will be able to assess your current certificate, contact your previous program, and determine what the equivalency would be here in Canada. And sometimes there are a couple of tests to write, and you probably have to do a couple of practical things, but you won't have to redo the whole thing. Right? You already have, if you've already been a nurse for 5 years, you know what's going on. You don't have to go back to the beginning. So for most countries, it's just a matter of doing what's called a bridging program. You just modify your skill set to be one that is more Canadian.
So Rod, Cheryl asked, is working in a retirement home considered as a healthcare profession?
If
As
you
a
are working, yeah, if you are directly working with patients, so you can't be a receptionist in a long-term care facility and expect that to be healthcare. But if you are a nurse's aide, a PSW, something that assists, orderlies might even be on that list. If you want to be sure, you can Google healthcare category Canadian immigration, and it will give you a list. There's probably 40 different occupations that are being looked for specifically. So yes, you have to be in the field, actually hands on the patient care, not reception or kitchen or janitorial or engineering or anything. We've had a bit of a study permit shakeup. I think a lot of people, certainly in Canada, are aware of this. We have too many unethical people involved. There are, and soon to be were, many private career colleges that were inviting students and providing substandard training with a diploma that had zero street value because it wasn't known by anybody in Canada. If I printed off a document that said I had graduated from Acme College of Career Training, nobody's going to take that seriously. If you were to hand somebody a diploma from Sheridan College or Seneca College or George Brown College, these are all in Ontario, Simon Fraser University, University of British Columbia, University of Calgary, Bishops on the East Coast, St. Francis Xavier, all of these schools are very, very well known because they're public. So what the government has decided to do in Ontario is 96% of the study permits now will be given to only public institutions. The remaining 4% will be spread between some private universities and language schools, and the private career colleges will get nothing. They've been shut out. Because if you are only relying 100% on international students, then your business model is wrong, and we have found far too much fraud where students are being charged a lot of money for not a great education. They have also changed the work permit rules for students. So now your spousal open work permit, SOWP, spousal open work permit, is only now available if the primary applicant is taking a master's degree or a PhD or some professional program like dentistry. If you're doing an undergrad, for example, an honors degree in biopsychology, which sounds great, it's not anymore eligible for the spousal open work permit. in terms of temporary residence in general, we have too much reliance on foreign national workers. The government is saying we need to start relying more on people here. And if that means increasing the wages, then we have to increase the wages. We can't rely on paying low wages to foreign nationals because they want to be here. Now, let me make it clear that it is illegal for a company, if they are applying to the government for permission to hire you as a foreign national, it is illegal for them to pay you less than the average. Okay? You cannot be a below average earner, because we don't want to encourage businesses to bring in what they call cheap foreign labor. If you are coming in, if a company wants to bring in foreign nationals, and the government says that's fine, but you must pay them at least the median wage. What is the going rate right now for this? And whatever the going rate would be for a Canadian, that's what you're paying the foreign national. You're not getting away with paying them any less. But in general, we've had too great an appetite on foreign nationals for employees, so that will be cut back a little bit, unless, of course, you are in a high demand occupation like construction or transportation or healthcare or a STEM field. These are all high demand. Now, there are some high demand occupations that are not considered professional occupations where you had to go to college or university. We need a lot of agricultural workers. We need a lot of people to work on farms. Hotels need cleaners and janitorial staff. Catering companies will hire foreign nationals. I'm thinking specifically of like airline catering companies that are responsible for getting food to the airlines. My fire's not doing too very well in the background there. So if you are, let's say, an MBA, you think, well, I have my master's, this will be great. And we have been pumping out MBAs for years. We don't need any more MBAs at the moment. Now, maybe in a few years. IT is the same. There are some jobs for IT, but a lot of the IT sector has fallen away. They expect it to come back in about 3 or 4 years, but we're not in that cycle at the moment. So the cycle that we're currently in, as I say, we need houses and we need healthcare primarily.
So, Rod, if you're an individual that's in the STEM profession, you have good French and English skills, what pathway do you choose? How would you get selected?
I think the fastest and easiest route for that individual would be to start applying to jobs
Okay.
in your field,
Okay.
because Canada has a program now. It's not a permanent residence pathway, but it's a work permit pathway, work permit for 2 years, and it's renewable. If you speak French at a level of CLB 5 or higher, then that employer does not need to get a labor market impact assessment for you. They can just hire you. And that is a huge, huge hurdle to overcome. Most people, most students who see their study permits coming to an end are scrambling to get a labor market impact assessment that says a company can hire them, and that allows them to stay and continue to work. If you speak French, based on this public policy, this temporary public policy, the LMIA is no longer required. So it's an incredible option for people. The Rural and Northern Immigration Program is for smaller cities in Northern Ontario. There's one in Manitoba, 2, I think, in Saskatchewan. I don't think there's any in Alberta. Maybe there's 1, and there's about 5 or 6 in British Columbia. And the goal of this program is to get people into smaller centers. So if you have a skill set that would work in a smaller city, so maybe you wouldn't want to be a marketing manager of a telecommunications company. Okay? Smaller cities, they're just not going to have that. That's going to be a Toronto thing or a Montreal thing or a Vancouver thing. But if you work in the service industry, for example, or you want to teach, we need early childhood educators, okay? Teachers of little children. That's a very high demand skill right now. And those are needed all over the place. So you could easily go into a smaller community, a rural community, pay far less money in rent or far less money to buy a house, live in a community of, 20 or 30 or 40,000 people, have virtually zero traffic to contend with, and everybody's way more relaxed. So small towns are amazing for a lot of reasons. It is a trade. You don't have all the Broadway shows and all the five-star restaurants and all of the public transportation and the international airport. I get that. You don't have all of that stuff. But you also have a lot more space. The air is cleaner. The people are generally nicer, and the pace of life is usually a little bit slower. So people really like that. You can hear that I have a cat here in the background who wants to encourage people to stay in Canada. Changes are coming to the RNIP in August, so be careful about anything that you read. A lot of the towns and cities have closed their programs to deal with the last few applications that they have until the government releases their new rules. So my expectation is that they will expand the geographical area. I think it might not be a pilot anymore. It probably will become a full program. A pilot just means we're testing it. So I think the test went very well. I think they'll expand the area, and what I would recommend is for you to go to the school, if you intend on going to school, go to school in the city that you want to actually stay in. And I wrote here, nobody likes to be overlooked. So if you go to school in Toronto and then you go up to North Bay or Sudbury and tell them that you want to immigrate there as part of their permanent residency program, they're going to think, well, why didn't you pick here first? Why did you overlook us? What, are we your second pick? You don't like us as much as Toronto? If you thought Toronto was so great, go good luck in Toronto. And they're not going to welcome you into the community. So go to school in the community, or at the very least, go to school in the province that you want to get a provincial nomination for. Going to school in Ontario and trying to settle in BC is not going to go over very well with BC. They're going to say, well, why did you spend your time and money and effort in Ontario when you should have been here in the first place? So some opportunities are closed to you as a result of that. Now, understand that there are 10 provinces and 2 territories, and each of those has 6 to 10 different provincial streams. There might be a stream for agriculture. There might be a stream for international grads. There might be a stream for somebody who has a job. There might be a stream for somebody who's in a specific field. There might be a stream for people who want to start a business. So all of these different options, and every stream, every program has a different set of rules. So be very careful, because if we've got 10 provinces and 2 territories, each with 6 to 10 programs, that's an awful lot of programs to keep straight in your head. So even as an immigration consultant, we don't keep those all straight in our head. Changes happen too quickly, and we'll always go back and check the documents as of today, because whatever I say today might not be accurate tomorrow based on what the government chooses to do. So we're constantly updating and checking for new policies, new instructions, new guidelines in order to steer people as best possible, because it's all about strategy, right? If you just land in Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, maybe Halifax, and you think, well, I'm in a big city, something will work out. Not a good strategy, right? Big cities don't need you. The government isn't accepting you because they like you. They're accepting you because they need you for something. So be needed. Be needed in order to be accepted. Find out what the find out what the country needs, and make sure that you align your skill set with that. Category-based draws for provincial programs as well. So same as before: STEM, agriculture, transportation, healthcare. General draws don't happen that often. If you're a teacher, for example, you would not fall into one of the in-demand categories. You would be in a general draw. Not only would they be very far and few between, but they would be at a rather high score, because it's just not something that we need. Again, nobody likes to be overlooked, so land in the province that you intend to stay in. And on Friday, there was a minister's meeting. The Minister of Immigration for each province got together and had a chat about what they need. So the provincial government and the federal government are working very closely to regionalize immigration so that instead of just bringing everybody in under express entry and allowing them to choose wherever they live, what we're saying now is certain provinces need certain things. So a particular province can say, we need A, B, and C. And the next door province might say, we need D, E, and F. And the goal is to filter people into the appropriate provinces where we need them, not necessarily where they want to be. Remember, the government isn't doing this for you, they're doing this for themselves. But if they need you in the Yukon, then it will be easier to go to the Yukon. If they don't need you in Toronto, it will be extremely difficult to get into Toronto. The scores will adjust based on where you are. If you have a job offer from a company that is outside of Toronto, there are more points, for example, than if it's a company that's inside Toronto. So I highly encourage you to start looking at some of the smaller centers. Don't be scared about being in a smaller center. I know people say, I like to be with people who are from my culture. There are people everywhere. Okay, you're not going to find, if you go to a smaller community outside of a major center, there are people of different cultures all over the country. I've driven across Canada 5 times. There is no shortage of immigrants anywhere I've been. So you will find your people. Okay, I'm going to switch gears here. Patrick, is there anything immigration related that you would like to look at? I'm going to have you take a look through those, and I'm going to see what happened to my fire over here.
Yeah, let me just see if there's any questions we can grab here before. Let's see. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat, and we'll answer a couple right now, and then we'll have a Q&A period once Rod's done his presentation.
It's not the cleanest job. I mean, I think this is why we use natural gas now.
Oh, right on. Just be careful.
Oh, it's only fire.
Yeah, it's not that intimidating.
Not that dangerous.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we'll let that sit and see what happens. Okay.
So we have a couple questions here. How do I get into the transportation pathway?
Say that again. Transfer patient?
How do I get into the transportation pathway?
Oh, transportation. It depends on what it is that you want to do. So if you already know how to install electrical components in airplanes, then you don't have to do anything. Just bring a certificate or job experience. If you are looking to be a truck driver, even if you are a truck driver in another country, you have to do an introductory driver training course here in Canada.
Okay.
It's not long. Let me just expand on that a little bit.
Oh yeah, sure.
The fee is anywhere from $8,000 to about $12,000. It's not a long course. I think you're done in 2 months, and then you can start driving right away. So not a cheap way to get in, but one of the cheapest ways to get in.
Okay.
Way less than going to college.
Yeah, big time. Jasmine asked, can we extend our work permit without an LMIA?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, I wish there were a better answer. Yeah, you need, there's no, I mean, especially for the PGWP, that's what everybody's wanting.
Yes.
There is an agreement now between Manitoba, I think it is, and the federal government, where some work permits will be extended. But that's based on what the government needs. Again, not for your benefit, for their benefit, and they will do that. And I think there might be some other provinces that will follow suit. Basically, what the provinces are saying is we have 10,000 international students that are losing their PGWP, and we can't afford to lose all these workers. So what can you do for us? And the Canadian government then will will do a temporary extension, which helps the province. But if the foreign national is smart, they will use that experience and time to strategize and make sure that they are accepted into a PR program,
Okay.
increasing
I
skills or learning another language. Yeah.
think we can get into the CELPIP bit and then take questions
All
at
right.
the end, if that works.
Sounds great.
All right.
I think it's important, Patrick, for people to know that there's no pass or fail for CELPIP.
Yeah, that's
Right?
right.
You can't fail it, right?
Yes.
There's a scale, and you
Yeah.
land somewhere on the scale. So if you don't know the language very well, you will score a 1, but it's not a fail. It's just based on a ranking of 1 to 12, you're at 1. And if you study for a little bit more, you'll be at a 2, and then you get to a 3, and then a 4 is the end of the beginner level. CLB 4 is pretty good. It's not great, it's not bad. CLB 4, you could land in Toronto, find a taxi, find a coffee shop, ask for the bathroom, get on a bus, like basic stuff, but fine. CLB 5 is what's required for some jobs like agriculture, and CLB 7 is required for professional jobs like being a pharmacist, for example. You need to have a higher level of English. Obviously, the higher the level of English, the more points you get, and the more points you get, the more likely it is that you're going to be invited to apply for permanent residency. Learn about the test. Learn the structure, learn the timing, learn what is expected of you. There are rubrics, score charts available. So find the CELPIP score charts. I think they're embedded somewhere in the CELPIP website. And it will tell you what the examiners are looking for. So you don't have to go in blind. You can have an idea of the sort of things that they're going to be listening for and looking for in your writing and in your speaking and so on. There are available study guides. I think Patrick is going to have a link for you later, or some means where you can obtain some of those free guidelines, free study guides. And psychological readiness is really important. If you go in nervous and worried and anxious, you will not perform very well at all. You must sleep the night before. Cramming the night before is not going to give you any higher score than it would have had you not crammed the night before. The verb to cram means to jam the information into your head as fast as possible, which all of us have done at some point, right? We all got behind and we all realized, oh my God, I have an exam on Friday and I haven't started studying, and you just start cramming the information into your head. And that's not great because you learn it for a very short period of time. It might work for the exam, but then once you walk out of the exam, it's all, you forget it. So be psychologically ready, feel confident, understand that you can't fail, understand that you can do it again, understand that if you don't meet your objective, nobody's going to come to your door and handcuff you and take you off to jail. It's just an assessment. I don't even think of it as a test. When I think
That's
of
a
it
great
as a
analogy.
test, it's like, yeah, when I think of it as a test, I think of pass fail. When I think of it as an assessment, it's just, well, where do I fall on the assessment? So really important to be psychologically ready and not freaked out, because stress hormones can really mess with us. So here's the outline. Tonight we're just going to talk about speaking. And this is always the outline. So again, you don't have to be surprised. You should know what's coming. The very first task is always giving advice. I'll go into all of these in a little bit more depth. Number 2, you'll tell a little story. Number 3, you'll describe a picture. Number 4, using the same picture as in number 3, you will predict what might happen next. Number 5 is we have option A and we have option B. Tell me which one you prefer and why. Number 6 is something that's a little bit more delicate. It's giving somebody bad news, for example, or having to have a serious discussion with your partner for something. So the tone is going to change. You don't want to be aggressive. You don't want to sound hurried or angry. You want to sound understanding and maybe a little bit softer in your tone. The examiners are going to look for your mood, not just the words that you say. So really try to put yourself into a situation where you have to tell your partner or your parents something that you really don't want to tell them, and get into the character. If you're going to be nervous and scared, then sound nervous and scared. They want it to be authentic. So it's okay to be a bit of a voice actor. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to demonstrate to the examiner that you know that different circumstances require different energy levels. Expressing opinions, this is usually some sort of social situation. So it will never be about politics. It will never be about religion. It will never be about events that are happening in the world that are geopolitical. They avoid all of that stuff. These are going to be things like, should we recycle plastic into building blocks so that they can be used as bricks for housing? Or should we melt them and reuse them for things like drinking bottles that'll be melted and reused again and again and again? So option one is you melt it once and you use it and it's done. Option two is you use it and you melt it and you use it and you melt it and you use it and you melt it. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just whatever you think. So don't feel like you have to pick the right answer. Either answer you pick is the right answer. What they want to see is how well do you argue for your answer. Not whether it's right or wrong, but how well can you convince me that your answer is a good answer. And the last one is a very strange picture, usually of furniture or maybe a scene, maybe it's a piece of art, and you have to describe something that you have never seen before. Very unusual. So remember TikTok. If you are training, and I treat CELPIP like an athletic event. Hey, we got a fire going there now. I treat CELPIP as an athletic event. You don't run a marathon without training for it, and you don't do a test without training for it either. So when you are doing your practice tasks, get out a stopwatch. Okay, I think every cell phone has a stopwatch. You can use a regular watch. You can use a wall clock. You can go online and find an online countdown timer. The point is you want to make the circumstances in which you study as close to real life testing circumstances as possible, so that on the day your brain says, well, I've already done this before. I'm not stressed about this. I've been training for this for 2 weeks. When I say 30/90, that means 30 seconds to prepare, 90 seconds to speak. So if you stop speaking at 45 seconds and you have nothing else to say, you'll know by your practice timer that it needs to be a longer answer. And you're going to watch the timer to make sure that you don't talk through the end. So if we see there's a blue bar on the CELPIP test, and if we see the blue bar getting to a point where there's not very much left and it's the end of our time, then even if we have more ideas, we just have to create a nice little ending. Thank you very much. Bye. Zip it. Let the clock run out. Don't run through the ending. So timing is everything. So here's the example. Your friend will visit Toronto and wants to know the best way to spend 1 week in August. Always use that 30 seconds to write things down. Let me tell you, from my experience in psychology, the human memory is terrible. We will come up with 2 or 3 or 4 really good ideas, and once the clock starts for us to actually speak them, we forget what they were. So really important. They will give you a piece of paper. They will give you a pen. Ask for an extra piece of paper. And those pages should be full by the time you leave your test, because you're going to be writing down all sorts of things during the test to help coach you to give your answers. So let's say I get this. It's 30 seconds. So in 30 seconds, somebody wants to visit Toronto. What would I say? It's August. So it's the summertime. Toronto Island, I would write down CN Tower, the waterfront, maybe a boat cruise. It's late at night, so a walk on the beach is nice late. Patios outside in the summer for like food or drinks. Done. That's it. That's all I had time for. But I write all these things down. Now when it comes time to give the answer, I say, hey, Tom, right? Really informal. It's your friend. It's not your teacher. It's not your doctor. It's not your boss. It's your friend. Hey, Tom, oh my God, you're coming to Toronto. I can't believe it. This is going to be amazing. What you really should do is go to the CN Tower. Check out Toronto Island. It's only a 10-minute boat ride across, not very expensive. And I'm watching the clock and I'm thinking I have 3 or 4 ideas. I've written them down. I don't want to say them all too quickly. I want to spread them out over the whole course of the time that's there. And this is why practice is so important. So write down your ideas, and then you don't have to think what were my ideas. You just have to read them off the page that you have already just created for yourself. So it's almost like a cheat sheet, but you did it in the test, so they're not going to give you a hard time about it. They know they gave you a blank piece of paper. Okay. Number 2, talking about an experience. Tell a story. Tell me about a time when this happened, or tell me about a time when that happened. 30, 60. 30 seconds to prepare, 60 seconds to speak, so you know it's not that long. And you want to make sure that you start with a bit of a hook. So my examples here are the bad start. I will describe a time when I got so mad I still regret my own behavior. Terrible, okay? Monotone, boring, and you've stolen almost every word from the question. Don't want to do that. You're not demonstrating that you know English by stealing the words from the question. What you might want to say is, it was the summer of 2019. I ended up in a coma. And people are thinking, what happened? Why did you end up in a coma? Was it a summer activity? These could even be 3 different starts. It was the summer of 2019. Then you leave a little pause, build some anticipation, and then tell your story. I ended up in a coma. Give a little pause. The person's going to start thinking, in a car accident, fight, fall, and then you start your story. So you've drawn in the reader or the listener to your story. His name was Bob Wood, and I hated him. Again, it creates curiosity. Who was this guy, Bob Wood? Why did you hate him? What happened? What's the story? So create some anticipation in the listener so that you're not giving them a boring story. Tasks 3 and 4 use the same question. Oh, wow. 1 second.
Is it getting too fiery back
About
there?
400 degrees in here. It's ridiculous. Okay. Let's see if I can make myself comfortable here again. Okay, here we go. Bring this down. All right.
You have a fire extinguisher on standby there?
Absolutely. Always. Safety first. Safety first. Always. In terms of describing the scene, I would separate this picture by the background, the midground, and the foreground, and also from left to center to right. By creating a bit of a grid pattern, it will prevent you from bouncing all over the picture. I don't want to go from the red crane down to the guy on the ground who's hurt with the doctors, to the children in the back, to the photographer in the front, and back to the ambulance. It's just too disorganized. The person who's listening to you might not have a copy of this picture. Presume that they don't have a copy. Presume that you will have to build this picture in their mind. So I might say something like, well, this is a very colorful illustration of an accident scene. It's daytime, and a blue truck and trailer has slid down a hill and into a small river. So that's setting the context. It gives us a general idea. Now I can say, in the background, on a small bridge, I can see a fire truck and an ambulance, and then I can describe the colors of the fire truck and the ambulance. There's also a green police car, and to the right, there is a red crane, which is there to help with the rescue. In the midground, I can see the blue truck with the red fenders and red wheels, and the passenger door is open. And the driver of the truck is in the foreground on the left. And then I can describe what he's wearing, and I can talk about the people that are helping him. And I can say, in the foreground on the right, there's a firefighter draining gasoline out of the truck. And furthest to the right, or I might say in the bottom right corner, there appears to be a photographer. He's kneeling and he's taking pictures, maybe for the newspaper or the news. Now, if I wanted to describe him, I might say there's a photographer with brown hair. He's a white fellow. He's got jeans and a tan-colored jacket, and he's crouching, right? Or he's almost kneeling. Now, notice that I didn't talk about the kids in the background and the dog and the. There's no time. You can't possibly discuss everything in the photo. So don't torture yourself by thinking that you have to describe everything. What we want is something that's organized. background, midground, foreground is the front, on the left, in the center, on the right. I want to hear colors, red, green, blue, yellow, purple. I want to hear verbs. What are people doing? Standing, directing, driving, lying down, taking pictures, siphoning gas. Give me the action words. Shapes, if you can. The wheels are circular. The bridge has an arch. What else has a shape here? The boom on the truck that has the crane is a long red rectangular boom. The fire truck is rectangular in shape as well. Any other shapes that I can see? I think that might be, oh, the firefighters, they have orange jackets with horizontal white stripes. Okay, there is one horizontal white stripe on every one of the firefighters' jackets. So horizontal, back and forth, like the horizon. Vertical, up and down. Diagonal, like a 45-degree angle. Diamonds, squares, circles, triangles. These are the sort of things that will indicate to the examiner that you have an understanding not just of conversation, but of the tools that we use to describe things. Shapes, colors, and verbs, very important. Then the same picture will show up in the next question. It will say, tell me what you think might happen next. Don't describe the picture in this part. They've asked you to make predictions. The other question, question 3, was describe. So don't describe in question 4, and don't predict in part 3. Stick part
Rod,
3. Oh, yeah.
just a question here from Alyssa. Are words like
Mm-hmm.
it seems or maybe or probably or like not good when it comes to describing the scene?
Correct. Those are all words that are very good for making a prediction.
Okay.
So save those words. They're great words, but save them for task 4. Task 3 is I can see this, I can see that, there is this, there is that, below this is that, beside that is this, just facts. Then in the prediction part, you're exactly correct. It seems, I presume, it is likely that, it is highly probable that, in my opinion, such and such might happen. Those are all fantastic, but only for part 4. Excellent question. So in this case, I might say, I presume that the 2 ambulance attendants or doctor-looking people who are helping the man in the bottom left-hand corner, the driver who's lying down, I presume that they're going to take him in the ambulance to the hospital. That's quite likely to happen. I think it's quite likely also that that crane truck is going to drag this blue truck out of the river. And I think there's a high probability that once that gas has been removed from the truck, the fire department's going to leave because they're not really needed anymore. And I think there's a very high chance that we're going to see pictures in the newspaper because that photographer is probably going to sell them to a newspaper and they'll get published as a news story. So all sorts of maybe this, maybe that, this could, there's a big chance, there's a good chance. You might say, there's a small chance that some of those children are going to walk through the tunnel to get closer to the accident because they're curious, but it's just a low chance. So low probability versus high probability. There's still a probability. We are not going to say an alien ship is going to come down and carry the blue truck away and, silly, ridiculous is just too far. So being creative is great, just so long as it's realistic. Words of persuasion, convince the listener. We have an option between a glass desk in metal or a wooden desk that they say here is comfortable, although I think a computer desk might be comfortable as well. When you are explaining it, we don't want to just compare the two. I want you to choose the one that you like and then argue for that side more than for your family's choice. Your choice is the important choice. So argue that your choice is the one that should win. So I don't want to be mean about their choice, but I might just say, you know, the wooden desk, and I wouldn't call it comfortable because that's what the question says. I don't want to steal their words. The wooden desk is less expensive. I would not say the wooden desk is $500 and the computer desk is $550. Again, you're just stealing words from the question. I would say the wooden desk is $50 less than the glass desk. And I think it might be a better size for the space that we have to put it in. It's a little bit narrower. Now notice on the computer desk, it talks about wide size. I didn't say anything about the computer desk being wide. I said my choice is narrower and would fit better in the space that we have. So there's a way for me to argue my point without comparing it directly to the other point. Instead of saying it's strong, I might say it's sturdy, or I might say it is very well built. Instead of saying instead of saying that it has 1 year of insurance, I might say it has a 12-month guarantee. So paraphrasing is an extremely powerful skill so that you can explain things without borrowing words from the question that has been given to you already. So paraphrase, I think Patrick, in our last webinar, we talked about a thesaurus.
Yes.
Hopefully people are aware of a thesaurus. It sounds like a dinosaur, but it's actually a book. It's a book like a dictionary, only instead of giving you the definition of the word, it gives you synonyms of the word. So the word heavy might have, what else, another word for heavy? Gross, ton, overweight. I don't know, can you think of anything else? Heavy, something that's heavy. Maybe bulky, maybe awkward, right? I mean, they're not all perfect, but they're all kind of in the same family. And that's what a thesaurus will give you. So fantastic. Find a thesaurus online, find one at a bookstore, find one at a used bookstore for like $3 or $4. And expand your vocabulary that way. I remember when we were in grade 3, roughly 9 years of age, we were no longer allowed to use the word nice. Okay, we can't say, I went to the park and it was nice. We went on a field trip and it was nice. I had my birthday on the weekend and it was nice. Nope, nice was gone. Any word except nice. And we were forced then to come up with amazing, great, stupendous, fabulous, fantastic, spectacular, all these other words that are far more powerful than nice. Dealing with a difficult situation. Your best friend wants to come and stay with you in Canada for a month to look around and check schools and maybe see if they can get a job and so on. And your partner really doesn't like this person. So the question will be either A, talk to your friend and explain why they cannot stay with you for a month, or explain to your partner why you think it's really important that this person stays with you for a month. All right, so they're going to give you an either or, but in either case, you're going to have to be very kind and compassionate and careful with your words and non-argumentative. Your tone has to be right. And the idea is, again, to kind of convince the person that your way is a good way, but without coming across as being aggressive or dominant. Task 7, expressing opinions. This is the one where I mentioned like the plastic. So here's number 2. Plastic, should it be banned or should it be embraced as a building material? But there's no right or wrong. A lot of grocery stores have banned plastic bags. Well, should they be banned or should they just be used and then used again as kitchen garbage bags, which is what a lot of people did? Here's a good one. If you had to give away one of your senses, which one would it be and why? Very interesting. Sight, hearing, taste, smell, touch. They're all important, right? So there's no wrong answer. It's just What do you think? Would it be better if all drugs were legalized and we dealt with it as a social health problem? Or should we keep them all illegal and throw everybody in jail who uses drugs? Again, kind of no right or wrong. Some countries have decided that if you use drugs, you should be killed. And other countries have decided that we won't kill you, but we'll put you in jail forever. And other countries have decided we're not going to put you in jail at all. We're going to send you to a hospital so that you can go through rehab because you're sick. So different ways of looking at it. No right or wrong. So you can see the fellow here. One guy says it's a 6 and one guy says it's a 9. And it's just because they're seeing it from different perspectives. The last task is task 8, the unusual situation. So this is a piece of art, and the question might say something like, you're in an art store and you see this piece of art or picture that you really like. Call your partner, explain the picture, and ask them if you can buy it. Remember, if it's a 2-part question, you've got to give 2 parts to the answer. So don't just describe it, also ask if you can buy it. If that's what the question says, just do exactly what the question says. And in this case, I might say, wow, this is a very strange piece of art. It's got a gray background and it's a light bulb that's broken at the base. And on the left-hand side of the picture, in the globe of the bulb, there's an ocean with a tall pirate ship and a seabird and a sea turtle in purple water. And from the opening of this broken globe, 3 birds are flying away and some clouds are escaping. And the base of the light bulb is on an angle with a green mountain coming from it. And there's a waterfall that's landing on the mountain and the rocks going into what might be a lake or an ocean. This is a very, very unusual picture, but I think it would look really good above the fireplace. What do you think? Can I buy it? Right, so make sure that you have that last, just all you need is, can I buy it? 4 words. If they've asked you to put that in, it's only 4 words, put that in. And that is the conclusion of the speaking test. So it's not particularly difficult, certainly if you know what's coming up and you practice each one of the tasks and you feel that by the time you get to the test, there should be no anxiety. You should be almost bored. You should be like, I have seen these tasks for the last 2 weeks, every day, for an hour a day, and I am sick of seeing these tasks. But you know them so well by now that you'll do the test. You'll have 0 stress. You'll just do it because it's something that you've been doing every day. Make it part of your routine, make it part of your habit. Now look, my mom was an English teacher, okay? I was raised with perfect grammar from the time I could learn to speak, and I studied for this test. Okay, I had to do this to be an immigration consultant because they want to make sure that every immigration consultant can understand the laws and the regulations and speak to their clients. So I had to take the test. And yeah, I studied. I did very well, but I don't think I would have gotten a perfect score had I not studied. Even though my English is perfect, I know my English is perfect, not to sound conceited or arrogant. I've been doing this for a very long time. But without studying, not likely. Not likely. Because they're not just testing your English, right? They're testing your knowledge of the test. So be prepared. It's like going for a driving test. It's not just about how you can drive. It's about what to expect. Parallel park here, back up here, turn left, turn right. Drive on command. That's what's different than just driving with your friends with the windows down and the radio on, right? That's driving. Driving for a test is following the instructions and doing things perfectly. So once you leave the test, you can speak however you like. My last slide here is just for advanced students, if they would like to spice it up a little, if they want to make their speaking or their writing a little bit more exciting. You can learn about these modals of certainty, prepositions of place, so that you can describe where things are in relation to other things. Similes, they're like comparisons. The day felt as hot as an oven. Well, I know how hot ovens get, so I know what kind of day you're feeling, right? It's just a comparison. A metaphor, something that it's like a comparison, but it's not a direct comparison. So perhaps I baked some cookies and they turned out to be terrible, I could say, oh my God, my cookies are hockey pucks. They're not really hockey pucks, but they kind of look and feel like hockey pucks because I obviously made a mistake with the recipe. An analogy, the boat bobbed like a bottle. That's also alliteration. That's where we use the same letter, words that start with the same letter many times in a sentence. The boat bobbed like a bottle. That's an interesting technique to use, but it is also an analogy. It's a comparison. Personification, where we make something that is not human, human. So nature is not a human thing, but we call her Mother Nature. Wind is not a dog, but we say wind howls. The lawn, the grass is screaming for water. Grass doesn't really scream, but it's been dry for weeks. So we say the grass is screaming for water. It just gives us a little human element to the thing that we are trying to describe. And the last one is an idiom. They are most difficult because they don't translate perfectly very well. Break a leg and knock 'em dead are almost the same. It means do a really good job. It's a piece of cake means something is very easy. Time to hit the hay means you're going to bed. And to kill two birds with one stone is to do a job with greater efficiency. So as you can see, you will have idioms from your language for sure, for sure. They don't translate well. So just learn some English idioms and start using them in your conversation just to expand your English knowledge. Idioms are used quite a lot. Expressions, idioms. So we've got the study guide for tonight. I've been working on getting a free drop-in session on Saturdays happening for people that want to come and just have conversation, because often people will say, I don't have anybody to talk with. I work with people who speak my language. My spouse also speaks my language. My kids speak my language. They just don't have an opportunity. So here's a chance for you to do that. I don't mind giving anybody what's called a viability consultation. So I would send you a form just to gather some information about your name, your age, where you're from, whether or not you have experience in Canada, a bit of your story, and it will help determine whether or not there's a good path forward for you. If there's no path forward, and some people just don't have a path forward, and not everybody can, I don't charge for that. I just tell them, look, now is not a very good time based on your skill set. Here's some things that you could do to maybe increase your chances, but it's just not your rotation. If I find that there is viability, then we can talk further and decide whether or not there are programs that would be good for you, and we can do a formal consultation, and I can actually draw out a strategy for you and answer your questions specifically based on your case. So there's my my website and my telephone number as well. So you're more than welcome. And I will pass this back to you, Patrick, if there are further questions.
Yeah, that was great, Rod. How's the fire back there?
It's all right. It's all right. It's just a nice steady fire. There's nothing crazy. And so the whole point of the airtight is that it's not like a bonfire, because we would load wood into here and leave it overnight and it'll burn for 8 hours. But if we just had the door open, it would burn and it would be done in an hour and a half. So you can see that it's not a very big fire. It's just fire enough to heat up the cast iron, and this heats the whole room. It's lovely. So
Awesome.
So yes, it's doing very well. Thank you.
So we could take some
And
questions.
it smells great.
Oh, I bet.
I love the smell of a campfire. Oh my God.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, we can take a couple questions from the audience.
Sure.
Let's see here. So there's a question from Natika. She asked, I'm confused where to apply PR from. The place where we study or jobs? So where do you apply for PR?
You can apply anywhere. I mean, you can apply through the federal program through Express Entry, or you can apply to any of the provinces. The point that I was making is that the probability of you being invited by a province goes up dramatically if you already live in the province or if you've already gone to school there. So if you lived in Ontario for 3 years while you went to school and now you've just plunked yourself down in Alberta or British Columbia, they're not going to be very welcoming. But if you strategized in advance and said, Alberta has a really good international graduate stream, and Alberta also has some good schools, and there's a program in Calgary that I would like to take. Why don't I do the program in Calgary? Then when I apply to Alberta, they're going to see that I went to school in their province, and they're going to be more likely to invite me. So you can apply from anywhere. It just depends on your chances. And the chances are higher if you apply where you have been to school or where you're working. So on the East Coast, for example, I think, I looked at this the other day. So forgive me if I'm off, but say Newfoundland and New Brunswick or something. And they require you to be in the province for 6 months before you apply. Working in the province full-time for 6 months, just to show that you have a commitment to the province.
So she
and when
was
you do a
in,
PNP, yeah.
yes. Sorry, go ahead, Rod.
I was just going to say, when do I remember? No, can't remember. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, she was in a year in Ontario, but now she's in Northwest Territories. So just wanted to know if she should apply from there or move to another province.
Well, I mean, if it's, do you say Nikita?
Nikita, yes. Natika,
Yeah, okay. Natika. So if Natika, if you have been in the Northwest Territories for a number of months and you're working full time, your chances are greater to apply for permanent residency in the Northwest Territories because you're there, you're spending money, you're employed, you're contributing to society. They know that you don't hate the place, otherwise you'd have left already, and that all increases the chances of them inviting you for permanent residency. So if you graduated recently from Ontario, then you could apply to Ontario through an international graduate stream, but you couldn't apply through an international graduate stream in the Northwest Territories because you're not a graduate of that area. But there are other programs that you would apply to instead. So it just cuts out some of the options if you don't study in the place that you would like to apply. I can only imagine that the Northwest Territories has some really good options. It's not a place very many people choose to go. It's a very challenging place to live. And as a result, there might be some good options for you there. But don't be afraid to look at every other province, right? Just because you accept a provincial nomination and you get your permanent residency and you move to the province doesn't mean you have to stay there forever. They want you to try it. They want you to just give it an honest chance. And they know most people, once you've been there for a year or two, and you've made friends, or you've had a kid, or your kids have gone into school, or you have a job, or you know where the parks and the grocery stores are, you're settled, you're fine, you're not going anywhere. And that's what they want, right? But you have mobility rights. Once you're a permanent resident, you can move wherever you want. So if you really hate the province that you're in, even though they gave you permanent residency, you can say, look, I tried it, I really did. I can't find a job here or a job that's going to sustain me. There is a job offer in another province. I've got to go. I have to go. And nobody's going to fault you for that.
All right. Let's see here. When is the best time to register for expression of interest for OINP, International Student Stream?
I would wait on all of that until we know what's happening in the summer. So we're only 2 months away. So a lot of those programs have closed already because they know that there's a change coming. So OINP, I was talking about RNIP, Ontario Immigration. So OINP is the Ontario Immigration Nomination Program. International job offer, when is the best time to apply? Anytime, whenever you have a job offer. If you've graduated from the province, and I think it's within the last 3 years, might be 2, but I think it's 3, and you have a job offer, then go ahead and apply. There's no good or bad time.
Awesome. Joan asked, when nominated by the province, how long should you live there before relocating to another province?
There's no time officially. Like people will tell you, oh, you have to be there for a year. You have to be there for 2. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms gives us mobility rights. Once you are a permanent resident, you can go wherever you want. There is an expectation that you'll just be honest and try it. So, I think somebody might have a problem. Let's say somebody took their PR in, we'll say Ontario, And then the day after they get it, they move. Now the province might say, you've misrepresented yourself. You indicated that you had an intention to stay in Ontario and you didn't even give it a week. And that might be an opportunity for them to say, you're no longer eligible because of misrepresentation. But so long as you give it a bit of a chance, fine. There's no official time limit.
Is set as can you apply for multiple streams at the same time, like express entry
Sure.
and IP?
Yeah. Any stream that you're eligible for, go ahead and apply. And then the first invitation to apply that you get, that's the one that you pick. You're absolutely more than welcome to apply for more than one. When I say apply, you can only apply for one permanent residency. So you could apply for 3 or 4 different streams, for example. You're eligible for 3 or 4 different streams. You're hoping to get an invitation from one of those streams. Yes, sure. Go into 4 or 5 different pools. Whoever sends you the invitation, that's the one that you have to go with. Let me rephrase that again. Once you choose that one to go with, you can't choose any of the others. If you don't like that one, you could ignore it. You're allowed to ignore an invitation to apply. It will eventually just expire. There's nothing wrong with that either. But it seems silly to have gone into a pool and then not accepted the invitation. So yes, go into 3 or 4 pools, absolutely fine. The first one to apply is usually the first one to invite you is usually the one that people apply to.
There's a question from Ibuka. Are job offers from every job accepted as a line cook, for example?
If it is a job for a foreign national, the government will already have had to give permission to that restaurant or establishment to hire a foreign national. So if the restaurant or establishment, like a long-term care facility, can say, look, we have tried to find a Canadian or a permanent resident and we're having a really hard time, can we hire a foreign national? And the government will say, yes, we understand that this is an area that is in demand and we don't have very many graduates. Yes, you may hire a foreign national. In that case, no problem. Without the labor market impact assessment, no, that is required in order to apply for a work permit. So our jobs that are specifically excluded, like being an exotic dancer, government doesn't really want that, right? Any sort of escort sexual work, the government doesn't want to hear about it. But in terms of being a line cook, a cleaner, front desk at a hotel, bartender, pastry chef, there's all sorts of jobs that don't require university, and we need these people.
So
And I don't know if that answered the question. She was saying, are all jobs eligible? Right. So yeah. So long as the government has given permission, it's an eligible job. The ones that are ineligible, as I say, are the ones that will put the government into disrepute. That means it will embarrass the government. Or if the company that you're applying to has already violated the rules of hiring a foreign national. So if they hired a foreign national last year and the government found out that they weren't paying this foreign national properly, then that company is blacklisted. They're not allowed to have any more foreign nationals. And then they're usually fined as well. The government does not like companies taking advantage of foreign nationals. It just is not a good look for Canada at all.
So Mahasan said, if I have an LMIA from my workplace, but I got my PR and I got a better job with other work, is it possible to accept it, or I have to stay with the same job?
No, it wouldn't make sense to accept it if you have a PR already, because now you have an open work, like you're open to work wherever you want. It's like having an open work permit. You don't need to stay with that person. So the PR is the golden ticket. So you don't need any work permit once you have a PR. You can go wherever you want. So accept it in the meantime. But yes, once you're granted a PR status, you don't have to stay with that person.
Awesome. There's another question here. Do I need a study permit for the truck driver training in Ontario?
That is a very good question. The answer that comes to my mind first is no, because study permits are required for programs that are longer than 6 months. So if you can find what's called a MELT program, M-E-L-T, Mandatory Entry Level Training, M-E-L-T. I think now every province has an M-E-L-T. I think there might only be one province that's still working on it, but it has become a federal thing. So every province has their own minimum training that is required. Remember that you're driving in Canada, you're driving on ice, snow, mountain roads, you're hauling logs. There are steep inclines. The wind can sometimes be 100 kilometers an hour. So there's a lot of things to consider geographically for driving. It's not so much that the trucks are different, it's that the conditions are different. So they want to make sure that everybody is comfortable with the conditions for Canada. So study permit, no. And I would recommend just Google truck driver training in Canada. There are some good programs in Northern Ontario. I think one of them is called Fifth Wheel Trucking. And there are good programs. I mean, there's good programs all over the country, but the ones that I would focus on if I were you, Ontario and probably British Columbia, because they need a lot of logging truckers. And I think those logging truckers are paid well because, again, you're driving through mountains. They might want a year or two of experience before you drive in mountains, so you'll have to ask the school. Lots of jobs for trucking in Ontario as well, and lots of heavy equipment operators as well. So graders, bulldozers, front end loaders. These are used for new developments, new residential developments where they have to build roads and curbs and sewers and all that stuff, and also for the mining industry. So lots of heavy equipment, and heavy equipment mechanics are required as well.
Great.
You know, it's interesting. A lot of people think about, I want to go to Canada and it's going to be like a white collar job. I want to be an MBA in a corner office in Toronto at Young and Bloor, or, you know, downtown Vancouver overlooking Spanish Bay or something. And what we really need are some of the, how should I put it? Jobs where you're using your hands. You know, there are people in northern Alberta working on the oil sands, driving heavy equipment, that are bringing home $150,000 to $200,000 a year. And they went to high school. They didn't graduate college. They graduated high school. They learned how to drive big trucks. They got their licenses and their tickets and their experience, and they're making killer money in the oil fields in northern Alberta. But it's not the cleanest job in the world. It's not a very prestigious job, but go do that for a few years and, you know, build a nice little chunk of savings. There's some great jobs that are available.
Right on.
Just they're not always jobs that people want to do.
Yeah. If a person is on a visitor visa, can they apply for a trucking license and then a work permit based on that?
Interesting. You would take the MELT, take the mandatory entry level training, which would make you employable. Then you would find a trucking company that wants to employ you, and many trucking companies already have pre-approved labor market impact assessments because it is such an in-demand field. Trucking companies might go to the government and say, we need 40 truck drivers. 40. So they will give the government $40,000, $1,000 for every application. Then they'll pay their legal professional, maybe they have an in-house lawyer, or they'll call somebody like me, and we'll do all that paperwork. So it might cost them 100 grand, or 40, 50, might cost them 60,000, 50 or $60,000 to get this all done. And for a big trucking company, that's nothing. It's really nothing. So if you can find a trucking company that is willing to hire you once you graduate with your MELT, then yes, you can be a visitor, you can get your MELT, you can get hired if they already have an LMIA, or you have to wait for one. And once you have the LMIA, you apply for the work permit.
Awesome. Can the international student and the spouse apply for PR at the same time?
Yeah, the spouse
From
is the
Korea?
spouse. The spouse is the spouse, absolutely. So the student is the primary applicant, and the primary applicant's family joins them in the PR. And when we say family, that means your spouse, your children, and your children's children who are under 22 years of age. So your spouse, your children who are under 22. So your dependent children and your children's children. No brothers, no sisters, no 25-year-old kids. Now, if that 25-year-old child has a developmental delay and is cared for by you and has been cared for by you since before they were 22, then they would still be considered a dependent child, and you could sponsor them. But if the person is 19 and they moved out of the house and got married, they're no longer your child. Dependent child. They're your child, but they're not your dependent child. All right. So in most cases, it's mom, dad, and the kids who are still under 22, and none of them have left the home, and everybody comes.
Great. Maria asked, is there an update for MPNP close relative stream? MPNP? So is it Manitoba?
Manitoba, yeah, Manitoba.
Yeah.
Interesting. I have not heard of any updates, and I don't know that program overly well, although I do check updates daily. So nothing is coming to my mind in terms of being specifically different. I'm getting the impression that this is a stream that allows relatives who are not children and children's children to apply. There is a parent and grandparent stream, and there is a lonely Canadian stream where if you are in Canada and you have nobody, no spouse, your parents are gone, you don't have any living relatives in Canada, then you can sponsor somebody who is not your spouse or child. So there are some exemptions, but no major changes. So if you've looked at these rules in the last month or so, I can't think of any changes that have happened in the last month with regard to that program. That does not ring any bells.
Okay.
But going into the Manitoba website, obviously the updates will be there.
Yeah. Frank asked, can I declare an aunt as a close family member to get points?
Interesting. I think we're talking here about express entry and the
Yes.
adaptability scale. And we would have to take a look. It says right in the adaptability what is allowed. And I think it's any relative over 18, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it's very, very many points, but I mean, every point counts. But it will tell you. It will tell you there whether or not aunts and uncles are accepted. I have a feeling that they would be, but don't quote me.
All right. We'll just take a couple
But
more
if
questions here.
yeah, if anybody wants to expand the conversation, you're more than welcome to email me, and I can dig further for you. No problem.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll just take a couple more questions and then we'll
Sure. Yeah.
wrap it up for tonight.
Yeah.
So
Take your time. Take your time.
Natika says, I'm divorced. My son is in India. If in future I get PR, my son gets an automatic PR, or should he apply for his study permit?
No, he gets his PR. If he's under 22 and he's your son, then when you write your PR application, you list him as a dependent child.
Great. Let's see. Just take a couple more questions here.
Sure. Yeah. However many we have.
After your postgraduate work permit expires, how can we stay in Canada legally?
Marry a Canadian or a permanent resident. Get a labor market impact assessment so that you can work. Learn French so that you can get a job that doesn't require an LMIA. What else is there? I think that's it. I mean, the short answer is you need an LMIA. I mean, obviously getting married is a bit of a silly answer because it has to be a genuine wedding. You don't want a fake wedding because they'll figure that out as well. And learning French for somebody in a couple of months is generally not doable. So really, it's just you need an LMIA.
So Crystal asks, are cooks an in-demand occupation in Canada? If yes, which provinces? Can it be a pathway for PR?
Yes, it can be a pathway for PR. It is in demand. I can't tell the provinces off the top of my head because, again, I said there's 10 provinces and 2 territories and multiple streams, so never a good idea to try to decipher those. But the difficulty with being anything in the cooking field is that they're going to want to sample your work before they hire you. So being hired as a cook as a foreign national is virtually impossible. But if you took a cooking course here, let's say you went to George Brown College in Toronto or a culinary arts program in Vancouver, they are very well known, very well respected. You'll meet people in the industry, and that's how you get in. So yes,
Great.
absolutely, it's a pathway. It's certainly possible. The hotel and tourism industry needs chefs like crazy. Right? All the restaurants, all the hotels, all the banquet centers, all the little breakfast restaurants, and the places, Patrick, that like you and I might go to for beer and wings and watch the
Right
hockey
on.
game. I mean, chefs are needed for all those places. So absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Silas asks, which stream should I use for my PR as a 40-year-old teacher in Northwest Territories? Is it through Express Entry or PNP?
I would definitely choose PNP because it's not an in-demand category. So you would have to wait for a general draw in Express Entry, and the points are going to be 550 or 560. It's going to be a very, very difficult bar to meet. Um, every province runs their own education Ministry of Education. So you will have to check with the province, because if you're teaching at a public school, then you will need a public certification to teach. If you're teaching at a private school, you don't need the public certification to teach. So if you can find a gig at a gig is just an informal term for a job. If you can find a gig at a private school, you're fine. If they can do an LMIA for you, wonderful. Otherwise, you have to go through the more formal training.
All right. Let's see here. So, Norris asks, what level of French is required for one not to require an LMIA?
5, CLB 5.
Okay.
So that's lower intermediate. So you've gone through basic. So there's basically three levels: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So you've done all your beginner and you're starting intermediate. That's where they want you.
And Bill asks, are you in Toronto, Rod?
Yes, I'm based out of Toronto, but I travel all over the province. I travel all over the country, really. But at the moment, I'm staying in Ontario because I'm teaching for Sheridan College, and as a public school, that makes me a public employee. And being a public employee, I can work from anywhere so long as I'm within Ontario. So I'm currently an hour and a half west of Ottawa in a little town called Perth, Ontario. Not sure how many people are here. A few thousand, not very many. Really cute town. Old stone buildings, some great restaurants. There's a river that runs through. Um, what's interesting, and what a lot of my Brazilian students have said and have commented about Canada, is that no matter how small the town is, it has one of everything. It'll have at least one church, at least one grocery store, at least one school, at least one clinic, at least one post office. Like, they're set up, right? They're set up. You don't have to go anywhere. Like, if a village is set, it might not have great selection, but there will be one of everything in your village so that you can, live and not have to, drive somewhere. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in Perth now. Yeah.
Awesome. We'll take one more question. So from
Sure.
VJ, in case we can get the LMIA, can we work for two employers?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing saying that I mean, if it's an LMIA that is linked to one employer, you can't use that for a different employer. But if you had two LMIAs, that's fine. If you had a company that had two different locations, that's fine. If you had a closed work permit for one company and for whatever reason were awarded an open work permit, you don't have to quit the first job. So yeah, you're allowed to have two jobs. Sure.
All right. And then just one last question. Bill asked,
Sure.
free conversation sessions on every Saturday from what time? AM,
I'm
PM?
I'm aim yeah, I'm aiming for this, and I'm aiming for probably 10, maybe 10 to 12 or 10 to 11 or 9:30, somewhere in the morning to somewhere around lunchtime. So I'm just organizing my schedule. But shoot me a message, and I'll get you on a list. And as soon as we have a few people together, then I can fire that up.
That's great. All right. So just wanted to thank everybody for coming out today. How can they attend those sessions, Rod?
Well, which ones? The
Just get
drop-in
in touch with you?
conversation?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just
Yeah.
just send a the um.
So I plugged your website in there and your phone number.
Yeah, I see that. I guess the best bet, because I use a different number for English. Let me see if I can get that here.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, it's not a problem if they shoot me a message on this line. I just use this
Yes,
primarily for
for
immigration, and then I
immigration.
use this other, one for English. Let's just see here if I can find it.
Yeah, and Tamara said, thank you, Rod and Patrick, for your time and information. That was really helpful. Our pleasure.
Oh, excellent. Absolutely.
Norris said,
Absolutely.
thank you, Rod and Patrick.
Very welcome. Our pleasure, really. It's fun. Yeah, we will have to just use that number, and I can always update people once they've contacted me. So WhatsApp is best, folks. As a result of getting a lot of phone calls and a lot of scam calls, as you know, we all get these scam calls. I don't answer the phone. I'm way too busy that I don't need to actually answer the phone to get clients. So I focus now on WhatsApp. Text messages are great, and it's a much faster way for me to communicate with you.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, just wanted to wish everybody a great night. And yeah, we'll be doing another one, myself and Rod, very soon. So best of luck with your preparing for your test and your immigration process. And definitely
Absolutely.
reach out to Rod if you need help along the way. And
Easy,
you can
no
also
problem.
what was that, Rod? Sorry.
Yeah, easy. Yeah, no problem. Absolutely
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can contact the CELPIP team if you have any questions as well. So, but yeah, I hope everybody has a great night, and thanks for tuning in tonight. All right, thanks a lot, Rod.
Have a
Good
great
luck
evening. I'm
putting out the
gonna go
fires
tend to my fire. Yes, exactly.
there.
Good night,
Good night,
everybody.
everybody. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.